It is Tuesday, September 22nd, 2015. I am Doug Neal, and this is Verbal to Visual Video. A few days ago, I talked about the idea of using your intent as a filter as you prepare and then engage in a visual note-taking session. Today's video is a follow-up to that one where we look at what happens after you've taken sketch notes and how you can critique and evaluate your sketch notes in a useful way. Let's get into it. To get us started here, I'm actually going to share two ways not to critique your sketch notes. And these are two things that I see fairly frequently. So pay attention to see if you do these things, and we'll address what to do if that is the case. One of the most dangerous things that you can do is automatically compare your latest sketch notes to those that you see others sharing online, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Pinterest, and judging the worth of your sketch note based on how it compares to those that you see. That does you no good whatsoever. It takes the attention away from what you got out of that sketchnoting experience and gives far too much attention to what others are doing. What you need to keep in mind when you see sketch notes posted, even the ones that you like, the ones that you want to learn from, to pull techniques and elements of style from, you have to understand that there is a whole backstory to anything you see there posted online. There is so much that you don't know about that. Both the person that created it, you have no idea what that person's background is, how long they've been drawing, how long they've been sketchnoting, how long they've been taking photos and sharing things online. There is also so much that you don't know about the sketch note itself, what the process was behind the creation of it, whether it came out like this in a first draft, pen only, or maybe it's the second iteration, or maybe the person started in pencil and then went through with pen afterwards. There is so much about the process behind the creation of that thing that you're admiring. And to compare your work to that thing without that knowledge won't do you much good. Our second and related way not to critique your sketch notes is based on looks alone, which might be a little unintuitive. Let's dig into it. I think that you would be doing yourself a disservice if you only critiqued your sketch notes based on how they look. Yes, sketchnoting is a visual thing, and it results in this visual artifact of the ideas that you are thinking about and capturing. But what's important to understand is that there are a lot of things going on inside your brain and the rest of your body while you are taking those visual notes. And it's what goes on inside your brain that is just as important as what makes it onto the page. Let me show you an example. This is neither a well-drawn sketch nor well-written words. And if we were to judge this based on how it looks alone, then we probably wouldn't get much out of it. But there is a fairly long and intense backstory to this one little note card sketch that really only I understand the full complexity of. And it is that backstory that corresponds to the creation of this visual artifact that makes it a powerful thing. This card holds a ton of meaning for me because of the ideas and the experience behind it. And that is what we will transition to now as we talk about useful ways to critique your sketch notes. We are going to take two approaches to this question of how to critique your sketch notes. And the first approach is an emotional one. What you are feeling during any particular experience or event in your life has as much, if not more, impact on, one, the way you interpret that experience, and two, the way you remember it. So paying attention to your emotions and to the meaning behind whatever is going on while you're getting these ideas down, that is a worthwhile thing to pay attention to. So no matter what ultimately makes it onto the page and how those ideas look, ask yourself the question, was the experience meaningful? And did the act of taking sketch notes, the simple attempt and the interaction that occurred, did that add a layer of meaning to the experience that wouldn't have been there otherwise? The second angle that we're going to take on this question of how to critique your sketch notes is more of an intellectual one. Think about why you are taking these sketch notes, the purpose behind them. This is a question that still has some heart to it, but it is also more rooted in what is going on inside of your brain and what you hope to get out of the experience. To better get at that intellectual side of this question, ask yourself, did your visual notes serve their purpose? And that's when we get back to the same question that was the foundation for the video on using your intent as a filter. Because to set up that filter in the first place, you have to ask yourself, why are you taking these notes and what happens next? We are now at that next stage, and you will have a better idea with your sketch notes in front of you if those notes will help you take whatever follow-up action comes next. If they did serve their purpose, then you are in great shape. But even if they didn't, at least you now can ask the next and more interesting question of why didn't they serve that purpose that you hoped that they would serve? And what could you maybe do differently next time so that they better serve that purpose? What new skills could you learn or techniques could you try applying? So there is a little bit of a pet peeve that I have developed related to giving people feedback on their sketch notes. And it has to do with the way that folks ask for feedback. And I want to say up front, don't feel bad if you have asked this question, because in all honesty, I probably have asked it myself. And that question is this: how do my sketch notes look? Frankly, I don't really care what your sketch notes look like. What I care about is what impact those sketch notes have on your life. And without a deeper conversation about the context behind those sketch notes, your process, what you hope to get out of them, there's not really a useful way for me to respond to that question. So with that, I encourage you to move away from thinking about what your sketch notes look like and move away from comparing your sketch notes to the other ones that you see online, and instead moving towards these two questions. Was the experience of sketchnoting, of taking visual notes, meaningful? And did those notes serve their purpose? Those are the questions worth asking. Those are the much more interesting questions than the other ones that we have mentioned. So focus on them and let those guide your future efforts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.